Hi there, my name is Kane Matcyk. I'm a student at the University of Regina, and I did my fieldwork practicum at the Pasqua Hospital Accountable Care Units. I did it under Tom Martin as my supervisor, and I chose the Accountable Care Units because it's a non-traditional model of healthcare used here in Saskatchewan. My project was a benchmarking project on medication reconciliation form completion, and I chose to do it because it's part of a greater initiative of benchmarking, and it was one of the benchmarking components that the fieldwork site was missing. This project focused on assessing medication reconciliation form usage and generating benchmarking data from this fact-finding project. As a background, when patients are discharged from acute care, all medications that the patient were on prior, during, and continuing after their admittance must be documented on a standardized form. The problem, though, is that there was no performance appraisal or feedback system in place to ensure that providers were completing medication discharge forms accurately. So the solution stated by the Quality Improvement Group was to develop an operating procedure and supporting analytic tool process that enabled form usage data to be collected and transformed into benchmark data. So some of the project purposes, outcomes, and expectations for myself were to create a reliable and easily adaptable process for data collection analysis for future and current quality improvement projects. This is important so that the project can be continued and expanded on for future data sets. It was also important to provide a data tool for providers so they can self-assess their performance, to support the accountable care unit's fundamental principle of unit level performance reporting, and also ensure that unit productivity was in alignment with SH goals of standardized documentation for medication reconciliation. As part of planning the project, I established 6 steps to complete it. The first step was to create a milestone chart to report out on my progress regularly. Step 2 is to standardize all my error definitions. Step 3 is to establish my data collection process and define my primary data set. Step 4 is to develop and test an Excel database analytic tool. Step 5 was to test that analytic tool with a live data set and generate metrics. And step 6 was to generate benchmarking data for the second quarter of 2021 and report out at the end of October. And as a final example of the milestones, the final milestone, which was generating benchmarking data, can be seen here in these examples, where we're able to compare a physician's performance against their pod and their unit, and then also break down the physician's performance by their error type. There were several positive project outcomes. First outcome, I was successful in developing and creating a quality improvement process for this medication reconciliation form. The project was ultimately approved for department use and was ultimately considered a success. Project completion also resulted in benchmarking data for the second quarter being generated and was made available for the benchmarking meeting later in October. And this also helps support the department's greater goal of utilizing internal benchmarking for unit level performance. Overall, this project was challenging. Some of the challenges I experienced included changes to the scope of the project as the project was ongoing, having to learn and utilize new software, as well as work in a high stress environment which required a lot of time management and skills in prioritizing. Overall, this project was very useful and a very good experience for me because it gave me hands-on experience doing data collection, analysis, and project management. I think the most valuable thing I took away from this project, though, was the need for strong data collection analytic techniques. Because if those are not up to par, then the information you're trying to convey and relay could ultimately affect decision making in healthcare. Another important thing I learned was that communication was also just as integral. Communicating with stakeholders at various levels helped inform many aspects of my project, and also was very important in the final phase. We're required to report out on the benchmarking results to unit leadership. One of my goals over the course of the project was to get experience participating in different phases of the quality improvement project cycle. It was able to do at this site, and it was also a bonus that I was able to do this in an acute healthcare setting. I also set a goal for myself for developing stronger skills in networking, since I have few connections in healthcare within Regina. I found that I was able to connect with many professionals from many different backgrounds, And I expect to continue working in clinical care as this experience working directly on units with other healthcare professionals, I think definitely gives me an edge and experience over other people. Overall, I had a great time at my project, and I recommend it to anyone else who's thinking about going into it. And with that, just thank you for taking time to listen to my presentation, and I hope you learned a bit more about quality improvement projects at the accountable care units at Pasqua Hospital.